It hasn't been a good week for the two national laboratories here in New Mexico. According to the Albuquerque Business First publication, a report by the Department of Energy's Office of Inspector General accuses Sandia National Laboratories of using federal funds to lobby for a non-competitive extension of its contract with the Department of Energy. We're going to get into that. And that it engaged former Congresswoman Heather Wilson in these activities. Now, Ms. Wilson has refuted the reports. The characterization of her involvement with the contract extension, and Los Alamos National Laboratory is facing renewed scrutiny after an in-depth report by the Santa Fe New Mexican found evidence of shortcuts and lax documentation on that infamous barrel shipped to the waste isolation pilot plant. It caused that radiation leak and shuttered WIPP and contaminated 20 workers, as a reminder. And Stephanie, these labs, big part of our economy, huge, provide lots of jobs. But let's start with the LANL thing first. This is disturbing to me, to anyone who would read this. Terrifying is probably a better word, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they would actually institute this kitty litter / nitrate salts shortcut to try to neutralize the pH. I mean, I am no chemist, but that to me sounds terrible, one. And two, how did it get down to WIPP and then put 55 other barrels at risk, put hundreds of people at risk with no accountability. So did I. The whole program at risk. And they said because ultimately they wanted to ensure that they had a contract extension, LANL, of the $2.2 billion contract that they have. So they had to meet this cleanup deadline. And so they take the shortcut, which is ultimately going to cost the taxpayers an additional $500 million to clean this up, and shuts down this piece at WIPP for a year. It's like shortcuts, no. And then the lack of internal communication and the fact that this employee at LANL was reprimanded for communicating with WIPP to let them know that this puts the whole community at risk.
That was the terrifying part to me, was the clampdown on that. And Sophie, when you think about what we do know so far from the Santa Fe New Mexican reporting, which was terrific, is there was communication, and folks at WIPP were frankly appalled. It would be safe to say it, what they were getting from these folks.
Yeah, and it's been interesting that up until relatively recently, the focus has been on WIPP, and they've taken a lot of flack with relatively little, regard taken for what happened at LANL. But the bottom line is, both facilities, both organizations, management organizations, have to be doing it right in order for this to be safe. And just as a reminder, WIPP is a pilot project. It is a model for what might happen with other similar projects. And I think that they've really identified an important problem in how these types of programs are managed.
And think about the outside stuff too. You've got that Louisiana Energy that went down there and built this $1 billion facility because of WIPP. And now, because they're supposed to be taking those spent rods and that nuclear energy and turning it back into reusable stuff. I mean, this thing has ripples that are unbelievable that could affect this state and the projects going forward for an extremely long time. And once again, it's all because somebody decided they were going to save a few dollars, run around a few corners and try to do something.
It's those dreaded governmental deadlines. You ever notice that?
And where's the accountability?
That's right.
They lay out in the research that our current Department of Energy Secretary, Department of Environment at the state level, actually has laxed on the inspections around WIPP and what was taking place at LANL. So I'm just curious, who is going to hold
in the reporting, I think it made it seem as if the LANL folks were holding those folks off a little bit, is how I interpreted that.
It's a federal installation. We have we have very little input other than when the stuff's driving on the roads in the state. We can't go to LANL and tell them.
No, they actually do. They actually do have the jurisdiction to do
That's right. Dan just brought up something interesting, the stuff that was on the roads. You know what I mean? That's the part that gets me as well. It's like any of us could have been, exposed to some of this thing in the barrel of something tragic had happened in transport.
The employee at Los Alamos who did the analysis that really concluded this was like a bomb.
Right.
It was like a bomb being sent on the road. It was like a bomb being...
It met the criteria of Iran.
Yeah, apparently this organic kitty litter plus the neutralizer plus the acidic waste that was being packaged into this 55-gallon drum amounted to a bomb.
Right.
Okay, so that wasn't disclosed. It should have never been on the roads. It should have never been deposited in the WIPP plant. It should never have been next to other radioactive material.
That's right.
All right, so I completely agree with everything that's been said here.
Sure.
Now, this is exactly what the people complained about who said, we don't want radioactive material brought to WIPP. Because it's like my son says to me whenever I complain about my computer, operator error. There's going to be errors made.
That's interesting.
I think that, that's a really important point. And one of the phenomena that I'm sort of noticing among us at the table is, you know, for a long time, there has been a group of people who have said, you know, we don't really trust the labs, we don't really trust how this will be handled. That was a big issue during bypass construction in Santa Fe. And the message we got from Lanel, from government, et cetera, was, listen, we're taking care of it. If you're a reasonable person, you'll believe us. I believe that we are reasonable people at this table, and we have lost trust. And so when an organization, you know, I hate to say it, but when Lanel says, when the WIPP management say, this is carefully controlled, we're taking care of it, they have a much higher burden because there has been skepticism, because of the dangerous elements, you know, of the materials, and to have been so short-sighted as to really blow that off. I mean, it creates a much bigger problem. Sort of to Stephanie's point earlier about a much more expensive problem. It creates a much bigger trust
And we
problem.
need to figure out, the federal government's got to be able to figure out too, we've got to stop allowing them to hide behind the top secret moniker of everything. Well, this is top secret, this is top secret. The state oversight only goes so far. When they start stamping stuff top secret, the state is left being told, here's the form you get to read. It checks all the boxes that you told us to check. We're good to go. I don't know what's top secret about shipping a container of waste down there. It should be open. We should know what's in there. They should know.
Not
what
the container.
The container should be closed. The paperwork should be open. The information should be transparent, and it's not. Every time that the state agencies or the media or anybody pushes the envelope, they get the redacted documents sent to them. They get the stamp top secret, and then everybody says, "Oh my God, you're endangering national security." I don't know what rags that are radioactive going to WIPP has to do with national security. I don't know what kitty litter with these isotopes has to do with national security.
clearance to know that.
That's exactly, and neither do the people at WIPP that are getting this stuff apparently, and that's why we're shipping bad
Let me
stuff.
stay with you, Dan. Let's swing over to Sandia National Laboratories for a quick second. You joked a little bit at the setup about how there are machinations whenever a contract of any size is happening in any state. Were you terribly surprised by this report?
No, I think this is stuff that goes on everywhere all the time. I mean, people saying, you know, when we talk about this stuff, I think about when we talked about setting up the nonpartisan redistricting group we were going to do in the state, and the idea was, you know, we're talking about this in voters and elections. The idea was we're going to find 15 people that could care less about the outcome of the elections, that don't know anything about it, that are going to serve on it. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, billions, trillions of dollars are at play here, and you think that everybody's just going to fill out a notebook, put it on the table, and somebody's going to make a decision based 100% on merit is insane.
But
I mean,
Stephanie, on that account, there are very strict rules about what you can and cannot do.
There
as a
are rules,
laboratory.
but there are loopholes too.
Okay.
We saw that take place clearly with the Sandia National Labs example. But the one thing that does kind of give me hope, if you will, hope and change, right? 2008. Sorry, Dan.
Sounds
You
vaguely
vomiting in your-
familiar. Yeah.
You're one of the few believers
But
down here.
yes. Well, we'll see how tonight's announcement goes. Immigration announcement. But no, the way that Sandia actually received the Office of the Inspector General's recommendations, I thought was fantastic. They have every intention of doing the right thing, and.
Well, but that to me, but I will say I agree. Except that's one of those. Okay, you know, every time my kids get in trouble, Dad, I'm
Like,
so sorry.
I'm going to timeout.
I'll never do that again.
I agree with you.
But it's still getting in trouble.
But they're owning it at least. I feel like there's a level of them owning it.
But
Yeah, there's a
however,
fe-
go ahead, Stephen.
yeah,
One
there's a
phone.
federal statute that says you cannot, you know, we're not going to pay you to attempt to influence us to extend your contract.
That's right.
Therefore, you can't use appropriated money to attempt to influence. It's a very clear statute. Presumably, everybody at Sandia knew about this. With regard to Heather Wilson,
Please, go ahead.
you know, she was hired. And again, there was a provision in the contract. One of these, I don't know if you have an insurance policy with that at the back, Dan, has all the riders at the back. Well, one of the riders at the back said you cannot hire anyone to try to influence an agency or Congress.
It's pretty simple to me.
So you know, and plus they use federal money to do it. So it was a double whammy. Now, I guess in Ms. Wilson's defense, wouldn't you think she could rely on Lockheed Martin or Sandia to know that she wasn't allowed to be hired to do this? So,
Well, she's been around that business for under a minute here, but she's been around that business for a long time. And what's interesting to me is the folks at Sandia gave back the money. that they had paid her without admitting guilt, sort of like a trial after a, you know.
They did, and it's interesting. You used some interesting language in the intro to here, where you to this discussion, where you said Wilson refuted the allegations, but actually she just denied them.
There's a
and
difference.
I think there is a difference there. It is certainly not, I think, in her best interest to admit if she has done something,
Right.
if she has done something untoward. But Sandia takes the brunt of it. They can kind of afford to.
There you go. But
Can
it's
I
not
throw
over.
in
Please,
just a
10 seconds.
I
if you
mean,
could.
first of all, this is a multi-billion-dollar contract. The government would like to know how you're going to extend it.
Right.
To provide information to the government, that's not lobbying.
Sure.
Our congressional delegation was interested in
That's right.
keeping Sandia
right.
for Ms. Wilson to inform them, give them information. That's not lobbying. So there is another perspective that one could have on it.
If one
She
asks,
requested
it's not
funds,
open.
though.
That's
I mean,
right.
That's right.
It came down to
You
the
know,
request.
over 200,000. So in a moment, we look at the shifts in the Democratic Party here following the November elections.